Hello everybody, Joe here with Garden of Luma. In today's video, I want to take you guys around the yard and show you guys some of the tropicals and how they are currently recovering or not recovering from this winter cold that we've had here in the Phoenix, Arizona area, Zone 9B. And so if you guys have been following my videos for a little while now, you guys have seen everything that I've dealt with this winter, how it's affected some of my tropical fruit trees, and what that has done to my backyard urban food forest. So in today's video, I want to show you guys what has happened now over the last couple weeks. It has started to warm up here. We're into March now, and it is moving into springtime weather. And so I just want to show you guys, when you guys see frost damage on your trees, don't panic right away. You know, ride it out until the bitter end. Sometimes trees will look beat up, look bad from the cold. That's just a part of what we do, trying to grow fruit trees in marginal climates that aren't really native to this type of climate. But if you just kind of wait it out and see what happens, a lot of times these trees will pull through. You know, maybe you'll have to prune some of it back, but the whole tree won't be a total lost cause. So it's really important to just ride it out, wait it out, and see what happens. So let me show you guys here some of the tropical fruit trees that were in-ground fruit trees. So I had, you know, my container fruit trees as well that I was able to cheat a little bit and put those in the garage or indoors as needed. So today I'll show you what some of the trees in ground are looking like now. And keep in mind too, I did frost protect some of these trees as well. So they weren't just completely out in the open the whole time, taking all the elements and things. But if you want to check out my video on how to frost protect fruit trees in cold weather, cold climates, definitely check that out. All right, so let me show you guys around here now. Okay, so let's start with the bad here. So as you can see, lying on the ground here is my papaya tree. And so if you guys remember that video I showed you guys about frost damage to fruit trees, you can go back and check that out. My papaya got pretty beat up here, but it wasn't completely dead. So there was some new life starting to show on this guy, but I decided just to take this guy out anyways because I did find a soft spot in the trunk. And so I decided to pull it out, and as you can see here, it was pretty well rooted out of this pot here. It was growing in a 15-gallon container, just completely full of roots. And so I had intended to pull this out anyways after this year. I was gonna give it one more year to fruit in this container and then remove it. Papayas don't last long in our climate. Usually they're only good for about 4 years anyways, and this one had been growing a couple years and fruited for me in this 15-gallon container. But I knew this container was a bit too small for this tree, so I was planning on removing it anyway. So I decided, since it did have that little bit of rot in the trunk, even though it did show some signs of coming back, I decided to pull this guy out here. Okay, moving along here. Here is my AdamOya here. And I did frost protect this. I put up a structure around this tree. But if you guys watched my video on the flood that I had in my backyard those couple days towards the end of February, we also got some hail later that day. I had a layer of hail on the ground here in the desert. So it was pretty rough couple days. That 48-hour stretch, it was really cold, really wet. So I was really concerned about my tropical fruit trees after that stretch there, if they'd make it or not, because that is usually a recipe for disaster for tropical fruit trees. You know, it hovered around 40 degrees and dropped down to about 30 degrees for a 48-hour period. So I got a couple inches of rain and everything else, really cold, and I wasn't able to frost protect or do anything during that time because of all the moisture and how wet everything was. So at that point, I took everything down, so the trees did get hit a little bit with some cold. This guy I'm really happy with. As you can see, there are some yellowing leaves and things going on now, which is totally natural for these AdamOyas this time of the year. So usually they completely start to defoliate throughout the winter, and then when March rolls around, March and April, as we start warming up, it starts pushing out the new leaves. As it's flushing out the old leaves, the new leaves start emerging, and I've seen that start to happen on my container AdamOya, not quite yet on this one here. But really all I lost to frost damage on this tree was a couple of the tips on the top there. I had to prune back a bit, but overall this tree is doing really well. Okay, so here is my Indonesian seedless guava, and the guavas took a huge hit. I did not cover or protect the guavas at all, so as you can see, they got pretty beat up. But just as I expected and anticipated with these guys, if you look along the trunk there, or the branches, you can see all this new growth, new buds shooting out pretty much everywhere. I have not really pruned anything off of this tree, and I don't even think I'm going to have to really, because you can even see the tops here. Basically maybe just a couple inches off the tips there I might have to take back. Got kind of scorched and are probably dead. But a lot of this new growth is shooting up just all the way to the ends of the branches, as you can see. So I think this guy is going to recover nicely, and I won't even have to really prune anything back, and it should recover fine. Let me show you my Peruvian white guava. Here is the Peruvian white guava that you guys may remember seeing. So as you can see, the bottom half of this tree still has quite a bit of green here. So it was really nice because the top part of this had a pretty nice sized canopy on it and did a good job of protecting the inner parts of this tree as well as the bottom parts of this tree. So I can tell for sure just by looking at it now in this video that probably about 5 or 6 feet of this tree is just totally fine. But as you come up again closer to the tree and look around, you can start seeing all this growth that's pushing out along these branches. So I think this tree, a lot of it is going to be fine and recover. I do think though, I don't see a whole lot up top here coming out yet. I'm still gonna just leave it and see what happens for a little while. But I do think I'll probably have to prune back this top part of it. That got hit pretty good. So maybe take a couple feet off of it. But guavas are such rapid growers anyways, and since I was able to save quite a bit on this tree without any frost protection or anything, that makes me really happy because this is a really good guava as well. Okay, so now moving along to the mangoes, my mango row right here. So these were what I was most worried about with all that rain and unprotection and everything else those couple of days in the last parts of winter. They are a little beat up. You can see some of the leaves don't look great on these trees. But overall, I'm really happy. I wanted to wait a few weeks till after winter to do this video update because a lot of times with mangoes, they will look fine after a frost initially, and then they start showing the damage, you know, up to like a week later. So they don't always show the frost damage right away. So I didn't want to run out and do a video saying how great they looked and how well they were doing until I actually knew for sure that they made it. But I think it's pretty safe to say that they are because I am seeing growth and flowers pushing out as well. Let me go around to the other side. So if you look around here, this is my Gary mango. If I zoom in close there, a lot of that brown inside there was flowers that it started to push out before the cold there. So like early February, it was trying to push out some flowers and all that's brown and dead now. But this green new stuff are new flowers that have just started emerging from all that the dead stuff that was there before. So that's definitely a good sign. It is kind of later in the season to start pushing out bloom and stuff for mangoes, but I'll take it. One of the canistel seedlings that I've been showing you in some different videos, again, unprotected, looks fine, minimal damage. It's starting to send up some growth there in the middle, if you can see that. And lastly is my Sapodilla here. So my Tikal Sapodilla, again, you can see where I had the structure up around it, but it is gone now. And it's doing pretty good. I mean, I do see some cold damage on the leaves a little bit, but overall I think it'll be fine. And this guy kind of tends to cycle through its leaves around this time as well, dropping some of that old stuff as the new stuff starts pushing out. But overall it's still pretty green and healthy, even though it went through some pretty cold nights. So there you go, you know, so don't freak out initially during cold snaps and stretches and signs of damage on your tropicals. Do the best you can to protect them and get them through. But, you know, wait till the end before you start pruning, before you start pulling them up and out. You know, give them a chance to recover, and a lot of times they can just do that. All right, check me out at gardenofluma.com for more tips on gardening in hot, dry climates. Thanks for watching.